I loved His Majesty's Dragon by Naomi Novik. This is a book that I have had for a while. I have heard about it. I have heard that some people love it and some people were disappointed by it. Well, I can see why some people might not have loved it as much. I really did. It might even become one of my favorites of the whole year. And possibly new favorite dragon as well. This book has been out since 2006. So again, I don't know why it has taken me so long to read it. But the nice thing about reading a book, discovering a new one, new to me one, that has been out for almost 20 years, is that I don't have to wait for the rest of the series to be published one book at a time. When I'm ready, I can just go buy the next one, which hopefully will be soon. So I think part of why I didn't pick it up is because the setting is during the Napoleonic Wars. It is a historical fiction, so it doesn't have the classic like medieval fantasy setting that I normally tend to be drawn to. And it's not very fantasy heavy. It's historical fiction with dragons, and the dragons are pretty much the only fantasy element in the book. The author is a fan of Jane Austen and Tolkien, and I felt like that really came through in the writing style. It felt a little Austen-y, which I was fine with. This book is not huge on the action. It's not huge on the plot. To me, it almost read like a cozy fantasy, but that might just be because it's the type of book that I really enjoyed and it made me feel a lot of feels as I was reading it. This wouldn't be classified as a cozy fantasy, but it felt cozy to me. A lot of this story is about the relationship between the main character, Lawrence, and his dragon, Temeraire. While it is a dragon rider story, it's not a young adult coming of age story. It's not like Fourth Wing, even though there's battle on Dragonbeck. There's no romance. The main characters are all older. It doesn't say how old Lawrence is, but he is old enough that he has worked his way up through the ranks in the Navy to become a captain. And later on, when he meets a younger adult who's like 20, he's looking at that younger adult like he is so young. So I imagine Lawrence is probably young to mid-30s, maybe? He is old enough that he is set on his life's course. He could be older 20s, I don't know. He is made captain, he has a ship. This is his career path. He has a lady back at home that he's been hoping to maybe be able to offer marriage to. But when the story first starts, they are fighting the French. They capture a French vessel, and on that vessel is a dragon egg. And the eggs are very valuable. Britain does not have a large quantity of fighting dragons. The French do. So this was a valuable prize, not just the ship, but the egg, far more valuable than the ship. But the egg has been being transported for a little too long. It might hatch before they get back. And if that egg hatches, that dragon has to bond a human. It has to be saddled, captured, contained right at first, or they are going to lose any chance of, what's the word? Not domesticating, but like using it to battle. They're not going to be able to battle with this dragon unless it bonds someone. Otherwise, it's only going to be good for breeding more dragons, which is still good, but they really need fighters. So the captain orders his officers, all, including himself, to draw lots to see who has the chance to bond the dragon. But none of them want to. These are all men who have chosen their life at sea. They want to be sailors. Bonding a dragon changes your life. Your dragon and you are always together. You kind of lose the chance of having any other life, of a normal life like marriage and children. And so none of them really want to do it. Captain Lawrence did not draw the lot to bond the dragon, but when the dragon hatches, they're out at sea, there's only sailors to choose from, and this dragon chooses him. That all happens at the very beginning. In fact, the blurb on the back goes into more detail than I would. Giving a spoiler-free review? I feel like that's a little too much detail, but really it's not about the plot. It's about the journey of those two characters, the human and his dragon. And this one gave me such feels, and I loved it so much. I am going to make a spoilery video where I talk about all the stuff in it that I loved so much, because there is stuff that would be too spoilery to just say, here's what happens, Here's the part that made me cry. But this book has a lot of what I love. There is a bit of a physical journey, not a ton, but it's really a character journey. It's an emotional journey. While it was not too heavy on the action sequences that are here, also very well done. The action scenes all matter. They all have to do with either character growth or like putting characters into situations that is going to be hard and they have to come through. There were a couple of parts that were a little boring to me, which were when they're talking politics or talking the battle strategy. That kind of stuff was like, I don't care. None of those lasted very long though. And it's really interesting to read a Dragon Rider book that is not the young character. We're not watching Will Lawrence grow into adulthood, but we are watching his struggles as he goes from having worked his way up to captain to now having to start over. He still counts as a captain. The dragons are kind of like their ship, their vessel. So the bonded human is the captain of the dragon. And something that I thought was really cool and really interesting is how they harness up the dragon and the captain has a crew and they use carabiners and they like hook onto the dragon and they all have different jobs. There's like the lookout, there's the ones manning weapons. It's done really interestingly. That's the back. It's done very interestingly. He was a captain who was very knowledgeable with leading a ship. He knew how to run a tight crew. The aerial corps does not work the same way. He has a lot to learn. And the aerial corps and the Navy do not look at each other with very much respect. And so they don't like that this Navy captain is coming in. And Will Lawrence has a lot to learn about how the aerial corps is run, how it's different. And that's just his life now. So this is a book that I really loved. If you have not read it yet, I encourage you to give it a try. It's not very long. And if you have read it, just tell me all the things you loved about it. But don't give spoilers for the books farther than this one because I've only read the first so far. And I hope to find the other Temeraire fans in the comments too. Thank you to my patrons. My Instagram and Patreon are linked in the description. And happy reading. Bye.